Hi guys and welcome back to the Mighty Blues. My name is of course Cameron and welcome back today to another live stream. How are you all doing? It is Tuesday evening. Hope you all had a fantastic Easter weekend. For those that managed to get the 2 bank holidays off, I hope you had a lovely long weekend off with your family or friends or whatever you were doing over the course of the last few days. For those of you that worked, then I apologise, but I hope that you had a good few days regardless of that. It is the game review. Manchester United 2, Everton 0 at Old Trafford on Saturday afternoon. Everton starting the weekend, the early kickoff on BT Sport. Thankfully, the majority of us will have already had a day off before this game, so it didn't quite ruin our Easter. Because a lot of people watching will have already had the bank holiday off, the Good Friday, so at least we managed to get one day off of work without having to worry or stress about Everton before they thoroughly ruined our Saturday afternoon at around about 2:30 in the afternoon with what was a truly woeful display at Old Trafford, and one that I said in the match reaction video that we did yesterday, one that we've come to have seen from Everton numerous times over certainly the course of the last 25 years I've been alive. Everton have always been susceptible to putting in a performance like that against one of the so-called top sides away from home. And by that, what I mean is, don't get me wrong, I've seen Everton go away from home against the top sides numerous times and get good results, work hard, play well, get, a couple of good wins, which is embarrassing to say considering the span of time I'm talking about. But also, go away and get some hard-fought draws as well. We've seen it already this season, a draw with Manchester City at the Etihad that nobody quite expected, a draw with Chelsea at Stamford Bridge last time out away from home as well. We've seen that from Everton a lot of times over the years, but we've also seen a lot of these type of performances, and what these type of performances are the ones where Everton turn up and pretty much do exactly what it says on the tin. Listen, there's absolutely no doubting that Manchester United are a better side than Everton. There's absolutely no doubting that Manchester United have got players that are simply out of in a completely different league to what Everton's players are in terms of their quality and their ability as footballers. The likes of Marcus Rashford, the likes of Bruno Fernandes. Everton simply haven't got anybody that could even come close to those players in terms of their actual talent. There's no doubt in that, and of course, Manchester United are a team that I'm pretty confident in saying will finish in the top 4 this season. And, under Erik ten Hag, have had a really good season, already won 1 trophy, are in the mix to potentially win another couple, and may go on to win a league title in the coming years. And Everton, of course, are a million miles away from that. So there's no doubt in the fact that there was a lack of, there was a massive sort of difference in quality and a massive difference in the ability of both sides. However, as I said, it was pretty much what you would expect from a side battling relegation. I said after the game against Tottenham last weekend that if you were a neutral watching that game, last Monday night, if you were a not really a football fan, not a massive Premier League fan, watching that game of football, you would not have said that was a game between one side that was fighting to play in the Champions League and to finish in the top 4 in the division, and a team that were fighting to stay in the division and, currently sitting 18th in the league table or whatever we were, at the time of kickoff last Monday night. You wouldn't have said that was a game between two sides in those, those positions, and you certainly wouldn't have been able to absolutely categorically say Everton are the side that are sort of below the bottom of the table. I think some people would have even said that it may be the other way round if you weren't obviously clued up on what was going on in the Premier League. Whereas Saturday afternoon at Old Trafford very much was a display of a side that are towards the bottom of the Premier League table and will be fighting for their lives, towards the last couple of months of the season. It was a really, really, really poor performance. A really, really poor day at the office. I think the manager got his tactics wrong. I think the manager got his team selection wrong. And I think the players just were simply not up to it. And as I said, we've seen that type of performance many, many, many times over the years when Everton have gone away to places like Old Trafford or the Etihad or the Emirates or White Hart Lane or the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, as it's called now. We've seen many of those types of performances where we've turned up and we've just been absolutely battered from pillar to post from the first minute to the last minute. Anfield as well is obviously a place we've done this at numerous times over the years. We've been absolutely battered from pillar to post from the first minute to the last minute, and then the game's finished and we've all pretty much sort of said, right, let's wash our hands of that and never talk or think or talk it into existence ever again. And this very much was one of those games. Now, obviously, we're talking about it because we do game reviews and we talk about every game, and that's the case regardless of the performance and regardless of the results. But it very much was one of them that, it was, as the Blues says, a really, 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 really bad day at the office, and I think everybody has to take collective blame for that. And of course, there is an element of the massive lack in quality in this Everton side compared to, as I said, a Manchester United side with real quality in there, and that sort of difference in quality was shone through. Of course it was, so that is an element to it, but it's also an element for me of the manager getting it wrong, the players just absolutely having a nightmare, the forwards not really doing anything whatsoever, the midfield being completely absent, the defence all having a pretty treacherous day at the office. It was a combination of everything put together. I don't necessarily think there was a lack of effort or a lack of determination. I just think it was pretty evident pretty quickly that Everton weren't going to get anything out of that game, and that isn't just because we were away at Old Trafford against Manchester United, by the way, because I think when we played Manchester City on New Year's Eve, it was quite evident quite quickly that Everton could get something out of the game because we were defending well, we were working hard, we were battling, we weren't conceding many chances. So obviously Manchester City had more of the ball, and Manchester City always looked like the team more likely to score, but it wasn't a massive landslide in difference between the two sides. Whereas it was pretty evident from the first 20 minutes on Saturday afternoon that if Everton were to get anything out of that game, it would be through a smash and grab, one that we don't really see, something that we don't really see very often in relation to Everton Football Club, or, two, through a lack of quality from Manchester United, through Manchester United's players not being up to it, through them missing opportunities, through them having a poor day at the office themselves. It was never going to be because of a tactical performance by Everton or because of a magical moment produced by one of our players. It was never going to be that, and you could tell that pretty much from the off. And as I said, it's disappointing, and I am disappointed and I am frustrated because some people will look at this one and take it as it is, and that is a defeat against Manchester United at Old Trafford. Not only against Manchester United, but against a good Manchester United team that will definitely be fighting for the Champions League this season, may even go on and win a couple of other trophies, already won a trophy this season. Players like Marcus Rashford, who are in brilliant form, other players in that team who've had really good seasons so far this season. Some people will look at it and go, it's not the end of the world. That's one of them that you just sort of shake off and move on from. But I'm a little bit more frustrated than that, because at the end of the day, it's another game of football that passes us by that we haven't managed to pick up points in. And in the same way as that, I was disappointed we didn't beat Tottenham Hotspur last week, even though I understand that to get a point in the circumstances we did is a really good point. I'm disappointed that we come away from this game with nothing, because ultimately there's not much football left to play. Now there's 8 games to go in the Premier League, and there's still only 8 points that separate Southampton in 20th position on 23 points and Wolves in 13th position on 31 points. 8 points separate 8 teams. Crystal Palace are only on 33. Chelsea are in 11th on 39, so I think they're pretty much safe. But There's 10 points that separate 12th and 20th, which is terrifying. Terrifying. Everton ourselves sit 17th on 27 points, the same as Forest, who sit in the relegation zone, only 2 points above Leicester, who of course sit in the relegation zone. But then the flip side of it is if Everton, were to beat Fulham at the weekend and other results go our way, we jump to 30, and that could take us, as high as probably 15th, because we wouldn't jump above West Ham because their goal difference is much better, but we could jump above Bournemouth if they're to lose. So it's incredibly tight at the bottom of the Premier League table, and that means that even though we've lost to a Manchester United side that are much better than Everton, that on paper you would have had beaten Everton, 99 times out of 100, and although that game of football in itself and that performance in itself isn't the end of the world, it's still, for me, is massively worrying that another game of football has gone by without Everton picking up any points from, and it makes Saturday's game against Fulham an absolute must-win, and I mean an absolute must-win. And for me, it means we've got to go and win one of the multiple away games that we've got coming up, and as we all know, that will not be easy because Everton don't win away from home. We've won away from home once all season. We only won away from home twice last season. Everton have got some really difficult away fixtures coming up. Crystal Palace away, which won't be easy. Palace are in really good form. They absolutely wiped the floor with West Ham the other day. We've also got Leicester City away from home, who granted we've got a good record against, but Leicester City are in a really difficult position at the moment, so their fans will be up for it. We've got Brighton away, which is incredibly difficult. They're in it. They're a really good side at the moment. Wolves away, again, similar position to us, really difficult game. So, even though I get we were against Man United, it was at Old Trafford, they're a much better team than we are, it was an off day, blah, 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 you can't really afford to be having many of those off days when you are in the position that Everton are in. Whilst watching Leeds on Sunday afternoon was somewhat of a sort of a painkiller, shall we say, to the headache that we all got, after watching that game at Old Trafford on Saturday, because I think Leeds are absolutely horrendous. Absolutely horrendous. It was Leeds that Crystal Palace absolutely disposed of, not West Ham. After watching Leeds on Sunday, I do genuinely feel, by the way, that if Everton are to finish below either Leeds or Southampton, then we deserve to be relegated, because both of those teams are absolutely horrific. Leeds have just employed Dean Smith to keep them up, which I don't think is a great appointment, and Southampton at the moment are in woeful form. Forest are another one that could potentially not pick up another single point between now and the end of the season. So, although watching Leeds was, as I said, a little bit of a painkiller to look at them and go, wow, they are really, really bad, and if we're to finish below them, then we probably do deserve to go down, it doesn't make up for the fact that Everton Football Club are playing games of football and not picking up points. And, okay, if this game was in August, if this game was in September, if this game was in November, then I'd be looking at it going, yeah, we were absolutely shite. We got beat by Man United away from home. It's not unusual. We've won once in 30 years or something at Old Trafford. It's not unusual. We move on. We forget about it. We move on to next week. But we're not. We're in April. Although, as I said, it's not the end of the world, and it was a performance that maybe, some people that, aren't Evertonians would have expected. It's still massively frustrating when it's another game that passes you by without any points, and you are, as I said, floating towards that bottom end of the table, and it isn't a case of, well, as long as Leeds lose on the same weekend, then it's okay, because Leeds are the only team we're fighting with. There's 9 teams there, and at the moment, I do think there'll be a shock. I think Southampton will go down. I think Leeds will go down, and I think there'll be a shock. I do. Now, whether that shock is us, whether that shock is Wolves, whether that shock is Leicester, whether that shock is West Ham, whether that shock is Forest, it probably wouldn't be too much of a shock. I don't know. But it's really, really difficult to look at that bottom 9 and absolutely categorically say, no, they are the 3 teams that will go down. I think most people would have Southampton gone. I think Southampton fans included would probably have Southampton gone, but 3 weeks ago, most people would have had Bournemouth gone, and Bournemouth have won a couple of games on the bounce, and they've completely climbed out of it. So, and they're still not safe, by the way. They could still very much go. So, it's worrying. It really is worrying, and that's why I can't come away from a game like this one on Saturday and just think, oh, well, we got beat by Man United, we move on. I know we have to, because we've got to move on to Saturday, and Everton have got to go and win on Saturday. Now, if Everton don't win on Saturday, it'll be an absolute catastrophe. It will be an absolute catastrophe if Everton don't win on Saturday. There's no other way to describe it. There's no other word that can describe it. There's no other feeling that if Everton are to lose or draw to Fulham, but certainly lose, then it would be an absolute disaster. An absolute disaster. And that pressure is piled on by the fact that games like this at Old Trafford, we've managed to pick nothing up from, and as I said, the performance for me was one that, okay, granted, in the context of an entire season, isn't the end of the world, but the context of now is a little bit worrying, and it was. I thought it was really, really, really poor from start to finish. I thought Dyche got it wrong tactically, and that isn't something I've said many times since he's become the Everton manager, and it's not something that I expect to say many times either, but he did. And listen, everyone can make mistakes, and everyone can get things wrong, and I think it's only fair to, give out criticism when criticism is due, because I've given Sean Dyche a lot of credit when I've felt he deserved it for some of Everton's performances in recent times, positive performances, but I do think he deserves criticism for that one. Why Everton settled with a high line is absolutely beyond me. Okay, we changed at half time, and obviously we become a lot more. Sorry, did I say Leeds was Dean Smith? Sorry, Leicester is Dean Smith. Leeds is Javi Garcia. Sorry, got them confused. Yeah, as I said, why we decided to set up, in that manner is beyond me. And granted, we improved in the second half because we tightened it up a little bit, and there wasn't as many. It wasn't as easy for Manchester United to get in behind. However, we were already a goal down at that point, and it was already a massive uphill battle to get back into the game because of the way we'd set up initially. And let's have it right here. I don't think anybody would disagree with this, but let's have it right. If it wasn't for Jordan Pickford, Everton would have been 7 or 8-0 down in that first half comfortably. Jordan Pickford made numerous saves, whether it be with his feet, whether it be with his chest, whether it be with his head, whether it be with his stomach, whether it be with his arse. He made every type of save you could possibly make in that first 45 minutes to deny Manchester United. Defensively, we were an absolute shit show. Ben Godfrey was all over the place to the point where he was ragged off at our time, the 2 centre-backs. Why we decided to play a high line against not only Marcus Rashford, who is an incredibly quick footballer, but a Marcus Rashford who is in unbelievable form this season and has been in unbelievable form for the last 4, 5, 6 months, and is on course to have a real shout for Premier League Player of the Year. With we decided to set up like that with 2 centre-backs who can't run, either of them, and they've got their strengths, and I think James Tarkowski has been absolutely fantastic for the majority of this season, and I think Michael Keane has done okay when he's come in, but neither of them can run, neither of them are any fast, neither of them are going to beat, Marcus Rashford from the halfway line. I think our forward line were completely irrelevant. The manager decided to go with Ellis Sims to lead the line, which was a controversial decision, and I don't really know why Ellis Sims has only started 2 games of football for Everton this season, and they've been away from home at Anfield and away from home at Old Trafford. I don't quite understand the method of that and the reasoning behind that. Ellis come on against Chelsea and scored a really important goal, which ended up getting us a point, and it was absolutely fantastic, and it was brilliant scenes, etc., etc. But I said this in the preview to the Manchester United game that we did. It's there's a massive difference between coming on as a substitute with 15 minutes to go when your team's 2-1 down as a striker with, okay, a little bit of expectation that you go and get the equaliser, but no real expectation, no real sort of, if Ellis Sims wouldn't have scored the equaliser against Chelsea, nobody would have been sitting there with the daggers out saying, oh my God, he's absolutely awful because he was brought on to score and he didn't. It was just a case of go on and see what you can do, see what you can make, and he did. He scored the equaliser and it was great. There's a big difference between that and leading the line at Old Trafford. In the same way as there's a big difference between that and leading the line at Anfield. So why we haven't seen Ellis start in, maybe the game against Brentford at Goodison or a couple of the other easier games that we've had, why we've only seen him start at Anfield and Old Trafford is a bit beyond me, because I think they're two games that he's almost been hung out to dry a little bit in, because he was never, ever, ever going to be able to dominate a Liverpool defence at Anfield, because, bloody hell, there's maybe been one striker that's been able to do that in my entire lifetime, and he was never going to be able to do it to Manchester United at Old Trafford either. So why he was given that responsibility is a little bit confusing to me. The reality is, Ellis Sims had one opportunity on Saturday, and he has to score it. Regardless of how inexperienced he is, regardless of if he's a young lad, regardless if he's learning his trade, regardless if he's new, regardless if, he doesn't deserve the criticism, etc., etc. I agree with all of that. But he was leading the line for Everton. He was Everton's number 9 on that day. And I said in the preview, when we found out the team news in the preview, I said he has to be prepared to take a chance if it comes to him. And if he doesn't take that chance, he has to be prepared for the criticism he is going to get. Because I'm not going to sit here and go, oh, he's missed a massive opportunity, but he's only young and it's Ellis Sims, so we'll let him get away with it. No. If it was Damari Gray, if it was Dwight McNeil, if it was Alex Iwobi, they'd be criticised. And I'm sorry, but he has to do better with that chance. He simply has to do better with that opportunity. There's no other way around it. There's simply no other way around it. It's a golden opportunity. We knew we weren't going to get many of them. We knew that this Manchester United team don't make many mistakes. This defence don't make many mistakes. And the Blues says leading the line doesn't mean you don't miss chances. It doesn't. And I'm not saying that he should have scored every chance, but what I'm saying is when he misses chances, he has to be able to take the criticism. And the reason I say that is because I criticised him in the instant match reaction, and I had people saying, oh, he's only a kid, what do you expect, this, that, and the other. I expect, regardless of how old you are, if you are starting up front in the Premier League, I expect you to be able to score a one-on-one or at least get it on target. And I think the pressure fell to him a little bit, and he has to do better in that position. Because if Everton go 1-0 up in that game, then not only is it a complete against the run of play, because even at that point Man United had 2 or 3 big chances. The Wan-Bissaka one was an absolute sitter. Then it gives you a different platform then to change. It gives Dice a platform to go, right, okay, we're 1-0 up now, so let's sit back, let's try and control the game a little bit, let's try and frustrate them a little bit, because they'll already be frustrated that they've had so many chances, they've missed them in the 1-0 down. But we couldn't. And Ellis misses that chance, and that, I suppose, is the difference between having a out-and-out goal scorer and having a young lad that you're relying on who clearly isn't experienced enough to do the role we need him to do. He misses that chance. As I said, Man United at this point have had 4 or 5 chances to score. Wan-Bissaka has one that I still don't know how he missed. Anthony's at the post, I think, at this point, so that might have been later on in the game. Rashford's had a couple of chances. Jordan Pickford has made every type of save you could make, as I said before. Save after save after save. And then, the goal comes. An easy ball through. Amadou Onana, who I thought was absolutely horrendous the other day, by the way. I'm not going to sit and focus too much on the negatives of individual players, but I thought Amadou Onana was absolutely horrendous. Completely lets him walk through, and McTominay blasts it, front post. I've seen a couple of people having a go at Jordan Pickford, but when it sits at you that hard, at that range, very, 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 very difficult to score, or very, very, very difficult. Very, very, very difficult for Jordan Pickford to stop it from that distance. And then when it goes 1-0, there is still an element of hope, because you're thinking, well, it's only 1-0. and we're away from home. Sorry, it's only 1-0, and we've shown before away from home that when we're 1-0 down, we can get back into games. We can, we can pick ourselves up, we can fight, and we can get back into games. And when we went in at half time, I wasn't massively worried, because I remember thinking this game could be completely away from us by this point. It could be 5 or 6-1. It could be 5 or 6-0, and we could all be sitting here going, what an absolute horrendous half of football that was. It was, don't get me wrong, it was still one of the worst halves of football I've seen from Everton in a long, long time, certainly since Sean Dyche has come in. But it was sort of like, well, thankfully, it is only 1-0. And if we make a couple of changes, if we sort of tighten ourselves up a little bit, stop allowing that ball over the top, stop allowing Manchester United in behind, stop giving the ball to Bruno Fernandes and letting him have all the time in the world to create what he wants, then maybe we can, we can come out in the second half, we can nick a goal from a corner or from a set piece, and then we can defend and we can come away with a 1-1 draw. That was always in the back of my mind, so I wasn't particularly worried at 1-0, to be honest with you. And to be fair, I do think we did come out in the second half, and we looked a lot better. We were a lot tighter. Man United had a lot, not anywhere near as much control, or certainly, they had control of the ball, but they certainly didn't have anywhere near as many opportunities, and it wasn't as easy for them to get beyond our defence. It wasn't as easy for them to create as it was in the first half. Obviously, Ben Godfrey had come off. As I said, I don't want to sit here and focus too much on the individual performances of players, because if I did that, other than Jordan Pickford, every one of them would be getting rinsed. And we will do a player ratings video about this game. We're going to do it after the review, which is a little bit backwards, but we are going to do a player ratings video where we'll talk a little bit more in depth about individual player performances. But as I said, every player would be getting absolutely rinsed, barring Jordan Pickford, because every player was absolutely atrocious, barring Jordan Pickford. Ben Godfrey being sort of one of those at the top of that pile. I thought he was horrendous. I thought he was absolutely horrendous, and he was ragged off at half-time, rightfully so. And we did. We looked better. We looked a lot more sort of composed with the ball at our feet. We looked a lot more comfortable. We weren't making as many silly mistakes. We weren't giving as many chances away. It was a much, much better display, certainly for that 5, 10, 15 minutes at the start of that second half. And we even had a spell in the game, a 15, 20-minute spell, where we did look the better team, or we certainly looked the team more likely to score next. We had a couple of set pieces, we had a couple of moments. We didn't really have any clear-cut chances, let's be honest. Other than that Ellis Simmons one, we didn't really have anything in the game. We didn't really have any chances that you can go, oh my God, that's a big opportunity missed. But we had a couple of half chances that were, corners thrown in or set pieces thrown in that were defended, but were still cause of concern for Manchester United. And then the game was always going to go one or two ways, wasn't it? It was always going to go Everton equalise and then Sainz sit back and get something out of the game, or Man United, deal with the pressure, soak up the period that we had in the game, and then go up the other end and score. And let's be perfectly honest with ourselves, as soon as they brought Anthony Martial on, we all knew which way this game was going to go, because I don't know if Everton have ever played Manchester United and Anthony Martial has ever played in that fixture, and he's not scored or assisted. He is absolutely clinical against Everton. I've still not forgiven him for the FA Cup semi-final in 2016. I never will forgive him for the FA Cup semi-final in 2016. He comes on, Seamus Coleman, again, not going to focus too much on it, but I've said this before and I'll say it again. Seamus Coleman shouldn't be starting games of football for Everton. Makes a mistake. One of the, if not the most informed player in the Premier League, Marcus Rashford, gets on the ball, puts it across the box, and Anthony Martial's got a tap in, and all of a sudden, don't get me wrong, we've scored 2 goals away from home recently against Forest and Chelsea and come back, but we've never come back from 2-0 down away from home, or certainly not under Sean Dyche in recent times. And even if we were to come back, you sort of have a feeling, don't you? I think it's fair to say, we all pretty much knew at 2-0 that was it. It was game, set and match. And the game sort of fizzled out. We didn't really have anything else. But for me, too many underperforming players. As I said, I honestly don't think, and please, if you're watching live in the live comments or if you're watching a YouTube video, please, get in the comments or comment on the YouTube comments if you disagree with me and you think that there's somebody else. But I honestly don't think, other than Jordan Pickford, any of them can walk away from that game with their heads held particularly high. I just don't. And as I said, you might disagree with that. And you might say, no, I think, I don't know, maybe a Iwobi or Sims or whoever can. But I honestly don't think any of them can sit there and think, yeah, do you know what? That was a good performance by me, other than Jordan. And that includes the entire back line. That includes the entire forward line. The midfield, I thought, were abysmal. Absolutely abysmal. I thought Onana was horrendous. Horrendous. I thought Garner didn't do much. Who I do think we missed massively was Abdoulaye Doucouré. I think it was pretty evident. It was pretty evident on Saturday afternoon that this Everton team just can't quite function in the way that Sean Dyche wanted to function without Abdoulaye Doucouré. He's so important, and what I would actually like to see is Abdoulaye Doucouré play in the role that he's been playing with Ellis Sims as the striker, as opposed to Damari Gray. I'd actually like to see Ellis Sims start up front on Saturday, firstly against Fulham, because it's a team that isn't, Liverpool or Man United away from home, where we've got no chance anyway. But I'd actually quite like to see Ellis Sims in that team with Doucouré in his usual role, and if that means Damari Gray has to come out or Iwobi has to come out, then that means Damari Gray or Iwobi has to come out at the end of the day. That is what it is. But I think we massively missed Abdoulaye Doucouré. Massively missed. The Blue says Gay was alright. Yeah, I thought Garner was probably the only other player that was okay. Everybody else was either horrendous or just absent. I think that's the word I'd use to describe it, completely absent. But yeah, I think we quite clearly missed Dukes. We missed his physicality, we missed his aggression, clearly. And we missed his ability to sort of pick the ball up, run with it. I've been a critic of Abdoulaye Doucouré recently, and I think he still could do much better than what he has done in recent times. I think he's had a couple of big opportunities that he's missed, a couple of clear headers he should have done better with. He had one against Tottenham that he put over the bar. But it's very, very clear that he adds something to this Everton team that I don't think anybody else adds, and we missed it. We missed it on Saturday afternoon, and we'll miss it next Saturday, and we'll miss it the week after as well, because obviously he'll still be banned. But yeah, look, a bad day at the office. Carl says, I think trouble is, can they give it all they have? We're just not very good. Well, we're not, and listen, again, I want to emphasise that there is a massive point to be made here about this game, that it was a game between two sides that are very, 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 very different in terms of the quality. A Manchester United side who are in really good form this season, and are on course to potentially go on and win another couple of trophies. Already won a trophy this season, and an Everton team who are horrendous and fighting for their lives. I understand that, and I appreciate that. If this game was played, as I said before, in October or November, then we'd just go, do you know what, defeated Old Trafford, move on, forget about it. But at this stage in the season, given how tight it is down there, I'm not willing, and this is just me, and I'm not telling anybody else to support Everton or anybody else to feel, but I'm not willing as an Evertonian to sit here and watch Everton lose any game this season, any game now, from now on the end of the season, and go, do you know what, it is what it is, we'll move on from it, it's not too bad. Every defeat is horrendous, even if we're playing a team that is so much better than us, and even if the game goes exactly how you would think it would do because of the difference in quality, I'll still be sitting here going, I'm fuming at that, because we're losing games of football when there isn't many games of football left to play, and we need to, we still need, I think, 2 or 3 wins. I do, and that mightn't be the case because other teams around us might continue to lose as well, but you don't really want to take that risk. I don't want to be getting to the penultimate game of the season against Manchester City, or Wolves away, and still not knowing if we're safe, or worse, I don't want to get to the last game of the season against Bournemouth at home and still not know if we're safe. But yeah, there you go. It was a defeat. We have to accept it, and ultimately we have to move on. And the game against Fulham on Saturday now is an absolute must-win, and we simply cannot accept any less. It's as simple as that. It's as simple as that. Anyway, we are going to leave it there. If you have enjoyed this one, please do leave a like. As I said, we'll be back with the player rating, so don't forget to join us for them. If you're watching this YouTube video, please leave your thoughts down below. And if you watch live, massive thank you for watching. But yeah, big thanks for watching. Leave a like if you have enjoyed it. Subscribe if you aren't new. And we'll see you later.